guys, welcome back to the Voice in the Wilderness podcast. You might be wondering why we're on a FaceTime call. Well, this is because Alex is all the way over in Maine. This is my former youth pastor. He has been a mentor to me and one of my best friends. So you already know, especially since we've already done a podcast together in the past, like a whole series.
We did a podcast for an entire year.
Yeah.
The Upper Room
Talks.
So much fun, man. So much fun.
Shout out Upper Room Talks. Y'all go check that out.
Yeah. It's still everything's still alive. Go check it out. Go watch them.
If you have any questions about the faith, that's a good place to go. We answer all kinds of questions from a Assemblies of God perspective. So go check that out. Let me do this little preface here. This episode is going to be probably really short, but just enjoy the little bit that we have here. Tell me about your story, because we just said that you're all the way in Maine, but you were also just a youth pastor here in Vincent, Alabama. So what happened? How did you go from Vincent, Alabama to Maine?
A long story short, you simply cannot deny what the Lord is wanting to do in your life. And if you do, then you will grieve him for the rest of your life. So there was a moment where the Lord began to stir our heart for Northern New England. We've always had a heart for missions. We did a lot for Speed the Light, and that was one of the things that completely changed my life, completely changed how we did ministry. And thankful for the youth pastor before me, Pastor Cody, for pouring into me and creating a foundation of missions in my heart. But over time, the Lord began to stir us about 2.5-3 years ago. He began to stir our hearts to go to Northern New England, which is the least churched area in the whole United States, and it's less than 10% Christian across 3 states, which is incredibly disheartening. That is almost in the sense of just a completely unreached area. Whenever I heard that mission and heard that need, I said, Lord, I will go if you are wanting me to go. That is when the Lord broke my heart. Just like Abraham was called to go to a place he did not know, we were called to go to a place we didn't really know. We had didn't have any relationships at the time. We had no direction of where we even were going to live, or what we were going to do in ministry. And a little over a year ago, began to have the conversation of possibly being the Youth Alive missionaries here in Northern New England, serving with the district. Long story short, it ended up being the direction that the Lord opened for us. So we're currently in the process of itineration, raising our funds. We're at 53% funded, which is a miracle from God. We started in October.
I gotta ask, you said it was 10% Christian?
If you look it up online, probably 10 to 7% Christian in all of Northern New England, Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire.
So being there now, can you tell that? Just walking around, does it feel like it's 10% Christian?
You honestly don't feel it a lot. Everybody up here is super nice. Haven't really met a ton of mean people. There's a lot of potential of growth in the communities and a lot of access to be able to reach the communities. And you do see the leftist side in the sense of transgenderism and that whole world. There's just a lot of people that just don't believe in anything. Being agnostic or not believing in anything up here is really a big portion of everybody. I think it comes to just from a sense that they've never really connected with anybody. Maybe nobody's presented the gospel directly to them.
Ministry's not going to change for the most part. You just love people when you tell them about Jesus. I know that, but does it change in any way the way that you minister to those people?
It's important to understand that not everybody has grown up in church or been in church. You can't assume that people know Bible stories or know references, or especially whenever you're speaking to youth students. Doing discipleship through your message is, I think, really important. Explaining what things mean and doing teaching. So it changes it in that aspect. You can't just assume people grew up in church and they know what you're talking about. Doing street ministry, that's a huge thing up here that you wouldn't, especially where we're from. You're not just going out on the street because there's nobody on the street. Here, you just go outside and go walk through the city, and there's plenty of people to do ministry with. Literally just listen to their story and just share about Jesus, what he's done for you. You get to share your testimony. You're not sitting in front of someone who grew up in church for 20 years. You're getting to talk to someone who may have never even stepped foot into a church. In Alabama, it's hard sometimes to minister to people because they're numb to it. Here, you kind of have brand new ground. You have fresh ground to just go and talk to someone about Christ.
I was just about to mention something along those lines. I have had more pushback from Christians than I have from any non-believer.
Yeah, well, look at Jesus. It was the people supposedly the ones that were supposed to be following Jesus. Whenever he crossed the Sea of Galilee, where the demon-possessed men were, where the entire city told him to get out. And even his own people, whenever he came to his own, they did not receive him. The Pharisees who always pushed back on him.
This makes me excited to come to Maine, talking about like fresh ground up there. I've been reading in Act, they were speaking to people who had no idea about Jesus. It's completely fresh ground. There's no numbness to it. I love the word that you used for it, and it's numbness. It's exactly what it is. We have become so used to church, to hearing about Jesus, that now even the name of Jesus is meaningless to us.
It's an apostolic ministry that you get to be a part of. You know, whenever Paul did his ministry, it was brand new.
Yeah.
There was healings, signs, and wonders because it had never been done in the areas that he was going. And those guys that got saved and they began to do ministry and began to turn the world upside down. You're walking into untouched ground and the enemy is encamped on it, but he don't own the ground. And so whenever you begin to do ministry and you begin to proclaim God's word, there are going to be incredible things that happen from that. Yes, you're going to have the persecution side of it, but you're also going to have the apostolic side of it where there will be miracle signs and wonders. There's a spot in Lewiston in downtown, a little park. And in that park, Pastor Jason took a picture of, I'm sure you've seen the picture. Under the bench, it says, spray painted, "We are the broken people." Is not a complete sentence. We are the broken people. And then I want to put a comma and I want to put "but God." What if this entire city turned and repented and gave their hearts to Jesus? It is a true statement that we are the broken people, but it's also true what Jesus did for us. My prayer this morning is that we would just drop everything, drop our agendas, drop our desires, put it all on the ground. Like my prayer was like, it would be a miracle. Like people are just walking away from everything they have, all of their desires, all of their pleasures. They just drop it and they don't even know why they just dropped it. And then they turn and they walk away and they walk to Christ. A literal act of a miracle of salvation across this land was my prayer this morning. I was just weeping because I feel that burden. I'm right here in the city, like 5 minutes from that place or Pastor Jason took that picture. 1 Samuel 16, verse number 22. But Samuel replied, "Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifice as much as in obeying the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king." If I had to give anybody any encouragement or any challenge to pursue, it would be simply obedience over sacrifice.
All right. Well, thank you, bro. I've loved this.
Yeah, dude.
I've loved this episode. It's been awesome.
Well, you keep running with this, bro. I'm incredibly proud of you. I just remembered the moments where you were sitting in the back of the room on the floor in our youth group. I've always believed in you. There was never any single moment in my life or even in ministry, like in the time that I was the youth pastor and I knew you, that I didn't vouch for you or didn't believe in you, because I knew what God was doing in your heart. Continue forward, continue to run, continue to be obedient, not just sacrificial. Continue to speak with boldness as you always do and always have. You have a very special ministry. It's unlike a lot of people's, and I think this podcast, the name of this podcast is a very good name for what God has been stirring and doing inside of you. Don't miss it. Continue to stay close to the Lord. Continue on, man. You're just getting started. It's an honor to be a part of this. Here's to a lot of ministry ahead of both of us and partnership in the kingdom.
I love you, bro.
Yeah, I love you too, man. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I hope you have enjoyed. Go like, share, do whatever, comment, blow this thing up. Let's tell people about it.
Yeah, dude.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Peace.